I was 18 when I got pregnant, but neither my boyfriend nor I were ready to have a baby. Before abortion crosses your mind, look at my profile picture. My baby girl is in my arms. The way she came about was due to my own mother manipulating me into believing I miscarried. She told me it happened twice. It was breakthrough bleeding caused by birth control, and later told my boyfriend otherwise. Because of her actions, my boyfriend and I suffered through a lot of problems, which we worked on over time. Throughout my pregnancy, we struggled financially as my mother refused to tell me how I could get my SSI and made it seem as though I needed her consent, so there were days we could barely find things to eat. I was told so many lies, such as if I told anyone I was living with my boyfriend, I'd lose my insurance and SSI. Upon asking around, I found out it was untrue. On top of that, we were constantly told how sad we made her because we only came down for our appointments or needed money for food. Before you judge my boyfriend for not having a job, we both didn't have licenses at the time or a vehicle. Our situation has since improved. In reality, we came down for a month at one point, then after that 1 to 2 weeks so we could visit and spend more time with my family. The upsetting part of it is that my mother refused to spend any time with us. Instead, she would watch videos on her phone or TV in her room and would ask me for money after days, sometimes a full week or 2 of ignoring me. If that wasn't enough stress, she talked for me at appointments. The real kicker about this is the fact that I was high risk in the beginning due to minor bleeding by the placenta. Because of that bleeding, I was considered high risk and it was recommended we shouldn't do things until the next appointment. Each time my boyfriend and I did things, my mom would blame him. Nothing bad ever happened to the baby and she was born very healthy. Anyway, when my OB asked questions about my boyfriend's and my own family's history of health complications, my mother mentioned her incompetent cervix. While there was a small chance I had it too, she made it sound like the OB was confirming that. She knew damn well how to manipulate me into exhibiting symptoms, but luckily my boyfriend caught on and helped me avoid that. It eventually got to the point that my mother was so obsessed with the idea I was going to have a preterm baby. Not only that, but because of a small controlling issue between my boyfriend and I, she believed he made all the choices in our relationship. It stressed me out beyond belief. My mother also was claiming to suffer from a terminal illness, so I worried about her throughout my pregnancy. She had the audacity to tell me I didn't care when I spent almost an entire night crying and sending her helpful information as to how she could reverse her illness. Ignoring my help, she persisted in becoming more and more toxic. There were issues she brought up and had told me not to tell my boyfriend, but they were things he and I needed to discuss. Things that could have ended our relationship if they were true, so when we clarified them with her, she would say, "You weren't supposed to tell him. This is why I shouldn't tell you these things because you tell him." She claimed I shouldn't tell him what we discuss, but it caused us both a great deal of anxiety and problems. Our problems seemed to get worse when, during the summer, we failed to go to her house and visit. I caused issues by calling my grandfather and asking to be picked up, but I would change my mind because whenever I was at my mother's house, comments about how controlling my boyfriend was were always made. Truth is, he only controlled me to keep me from killing myself, and I won't lie, he saved my fucking life. If it wasn't for him, neither my baby nor I would be here. Anyway, I do admit it wasn't right for me to ask for a ride and turn it down, especially when my grandfather had gotten to us, only to turn around. It only happened twice. The other time my mother's car broke down while they were on their way to the appointment. We had an issue of rides because we didn't have a car and so we had to ask other people. My boyfriend didn't want to stress about a ride situation, so he told me I'd have to find my own way back up. He knows it was shitty of him, but I also know it isn't his responsibility. I cried about it and turned them down, which pissed my older sister off. After 3 months of refusing to visit them, my mother decided it was time to take control, or attempt to. We received guilt trips and long paragraphs explaining how horribly we were hurting her for not visiting and how I was being controlled into not going. Are you kidding me? I chose not to go because of how I was being treated by not only her but my siblings as well, which my boyfriend explained. My mother sent the word controlling 3 times to him, each time in caps locks, and after that began threatening to obtain legal guardianship over me. Luckily, there was no real reason for her to get it, but she had lied to her lawyer, saying I was missing important appointments with both my OB and oncologist. To explain the oncologist, my mother, not a doctor or anyone with medical experience, told me I had cancer. She was even adamant that my primary doctor told her that I have a terminal cancer and was going to die. As you can imagine, being only 18, I blindly trusted her word. What hurts is knowing that she got money for telling strangers I was dying. As I was saying, her acting out caused me a lot of stress, so we just chose not to see her or talk to her. When I tried to, the first thing she requested was money. Right, no asking about how the baby or I were doing or whether I was okay or not. Nothing but money. She continually threatened to obtain guardianship of me, even well after I got my SSI, and had said I didn't want to see her. She never believed I was the one speaking for myself and said my boyfriend was saying those things, which makes no sense. I said it with my own voice, only for it to be ignored. That hurt. It got to the point she was making threats of taking my baby from us, making horrible slanderous posts on Facebook and turning my family friends against me. People who literally had never met my boyfriend were calling him controlling and said my relationship with him wouldn't last. So my mother should be prepared for me to come running back with open arms. Nope, not happening. Because of this, I was scared to trust my closest friends and had deleted my Facebook completely. Whether or not I have an account will not be disclosed. My older sister was throwing a baby shower for me, but I couldn't go. Not because of lacking a ride, but because I was scared that I wouldn't be allowed to leave if I went. A little history between my sister and I. She has always been a bully to me and would always try to make me do whatever it was she wanted. Seems like both my mother and sister have something in common, a God complex. This greatly upset my sister, which was another reason I terminated my Facebook account. She said I was hurting her, making ridiculous excuses and being awful to my family. Has anyone ever tried traveling while pregnant and while it's hot as hell outside? Yeah, not fun, so I didn't want to go. On top of that, both my boyfriend and I had gotten sick the last few times we stayed at my mother's house, which was bad. Bad for both the baby and I. When I got closer to my due date, even prior, we received a lot of text messages from my mother, all of which were filled with manipulative comments and hatred. Some of her texts made it sound like nothing ever happened at all, and others consisted of how badly I was hurting her for choosing to step out of her life. I'll be completely honest. I don't care if she really is hurting because it doesn't compare to the hell she put me through. She has literally threatened to kill my siblings and I, as well as told me to kill myself. She is convinced that I had my baby very early, like 31 weeks along kind of early. My mother has been telling people that because I left, her terminal illness has progressed and that she is dying. If you haven't caught on, she has Munchausen by proxy, hence the supposed cancer diagnosis and her illness. She claims because she's so sad that she's going to die much sooner, but has never proved it. We still haven't seen evidence of her illness, other than a single medical document stating she had a high blood pressure. That was it. She even said because she bought everything we needed, that we owed her. When my baby was born, we only included certain people and did a DNP to prevent my mother from finding out and showing up. We were both equally afraid that she was going to walk in and take the baby, but we know it wouldn't have been that easy. I had an awful gut feeling about letting her show up anyway, so we just didn't let her know when I went into labor, and we told hospital staff our reasons why we didn't want her there. My baby was born a healthy 6 pounds 9 ounces and born full term, quite literally, and just 2 days shy of my due date, so we were both pretty happy about it.